Cool. Kia ora guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Wholesome Half Hour. I'm Mackenzie.
I'm Sarah. Kia ora.
And this week, in light of probably a lot of the assessments that you guys are going to be getting, the due hand in for a lot of this kind of stuff, we're going to be talking about deadlines. The good, the bad, the ugly.
Very exciting. The thing that brings me the most pleasure in life is deadlines.
Yeah, I also picked it because it's something that Sarah and I are on struggle street with at the moment as well. So we'll also be taking some advice this episode, I think. Yeah.
I'll listen to my advice and apply it to 2 days ago.
Just need that time machine.
I really need the time machine. Also need more coffee. 1 coffee is not enough.
Apparently.
In the morning you need like 3. I did sleep well last night though. So
yeah, I mean, that's good. Sarah got 8 hours, which is very rare.
I was sleeping 5 to 6 hours every other night this week. It's a Friday, so. Kira, welcome. I hope you sleep more than 5 to 6 hours because it's not ideal.
I mean, not for like long-term productivity at least, or functionality on any level.
No, not really. It's good to feel alive again.
Cool.
Cool.
Anyway, so I guess like, firstly, like, what is your, like, how good do you feel you are with deadlines? Like, are you like?
It depends how. So it depends how it depends how hard the deadline is, right? So at uni, the deadlines are hard, right? Like if you hand it in late, you're gonna get the
penalty, right? You get a penalty.
You get a penalty.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in taking a penalty. That seems like a waste of time.
I mean, it is.
So I've never handed anything in at uni, like literally ever.
I wish I could say the same.
So because of that, I see the deadline and I will make sure it's done. With uni stuff, I usually make sure it's done like daytime, not evening, daytime the day before it's due, because I can't work on it the day it is due. I find that too stressful. I will see the deadline, so I'll prepare.
So you see the deadline and minus
Friday.
a day.
I'll see the deadlines Friday, so I know I have to finish it by Thursday afternoon, and I will do whatever is necessary to finish by that. Does that mean I start it 2 weeks early? No, that doesn't happen. But does that mean, by so it's due Thursday, or it's mentally due Thursday afternoon, does that mean by Tuesday it's halfway done? Yeah.
Interesting. I'm really, really good at starting things early. Like, if I've got like an assignment or something, I'll get like a third of the way through it, like the first week, and I'll have like another 3 weeks to do like the other 2/3, and I'm like, oh my God, I've got ages. And so I just don't touch it until like it gets really close to the deadline, and I'm really bad for that. Like, I just can't. I'm really good at starting early, whether or not that the same pace is like kept consistently throughout that time is a different matter.
I feel like one thing that, this happens with internals as well, but one thing that happens a lot with uni assignments is you have, say there's 4 key things you need to cover in the assignment. The first 2 are really easy, and you zoom through them.
So you can like tick them off and feel like that gratification.
The other 2 are harder, so you put them off.
Yeah.
But and like when you put them off, you're not. It's bad, but it's like a very easy thing to do mentally.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you feel like you've done some of it already.
Yeah.
When even though you've done 50% of the word count, you might have not put 50% of the time in yet.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that's something that is important to know. Yo, can you get me some as well?
I was just gonna go here.
Oh, okay, maybe not. Never mind.
I
think that is like something that is really important to note though, and that is what we will be like addressing a lot in the questions that you guys have been asking, is the amount of content you produce in relation to an assignment is not going to be the same as the amount, like you're not going to spend the same amount of time on each part of the assignment. Like it's very easy to say, oh yeah, I've written the introduction. Like you can write an introduction in half an hour. You're just outlining. Like that's all you don't have to do any research. You can like literally say like, in this novel of A Clockwork Orange, we're going to discuss the idea that people are inherently evil. We're going to be doing this by looking at the character Alex and his natural sociopathic tendencies and the way that this relates to the human condition. Wow, I just did it in like 30 seconds. Like, that's all you have to do. Did I do any research? No. Like, it's fine, you know? And so I think it's very easy to say, oh, I've done this thing, but like, you've ticked off one of the sections, but the amount of time that you should theoretically be spending on it are 2 very different things. Yeah.
And It is one, like it feels good to box tick, but box ticking, if done properly, is also quite a good tactic. Because, like, so say if you have an essay, if you can clearly define like the writing of the essay into, say 5, let's say 5 steps. Outline, planning, paragraphs 1, 2, 3. So that's 4 points. That's 4 checkboxes, and then intro, conclusion, checkbox 5.
And then probably an editing.
And then editing.
Proofing.
Okay, 6 steps. Okay?
Yep.
If you define it like that, 6 steps, and then if you aim to do one like a day or something like that, that's actually quite good, because if you've written one paragraph, you've written one paragraph. That's like an objective metric. But if you've spent half an hour on it, you may have written one paragraph, or you may have written 1/10 of one paragraph.
Yeah.
So in terms of seeing progress, if you do it properly, like dividing it up into like tasks and then ticking off those tasks, rather than saying I'm going to work on it for 30 minutes, can be quite a good strategy.
And yeah, that's sort of, it was something I was going to dive into with some of the questions, but I actually think it is important to note now, when you are planning for things, there are 2 things to be bringing into mind, is what the task is, how it can be broken down. So like you were just saying, like, we can break an essay down into 6 steps. However, what you should also be factoring into each of these steps is how much time you think each should ideally be taking. Yeah. So again, an introduction, half an hour, if that. Honestly, like, I mean,
here's a tip. I don't know if everyone does this, but I think everyone should do this.
What?
You should write your introduction at the end.
A lot of people do that. I think it's chaotic evil, but that's fine.
It means that if you change the scope of your essay, which a lot of people end up doing,
that's true.
You can just write it once. And if you've already written the body, your introduction writes itself. There's nothing to write. You can write it in literally 5 to 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's a fair point, actually. Like, most people recommend start with the body paragraph, start with
body
what
paragraphs,
actually matters.
Conclusion, introduction, like right at the end.
Because unless you know your topic inside out, back to front, like,
you're going to change. It's
going to change midway through. Like, you can never fully prepare for the way that an essay may take unless you have a very, very inside out understanding of A, the topic, and B, where you're going to be taking your argument. And quite often, if you don't go into it with that, which is how most people do, because you do research along the way and all that kind of stuff, it kind of ends up manifesting itself in a bit of a different light than what you'd maybe first anticipated.
Yeah, definitely.
We're now going to take a break for Saren to change the lighting or something again.
Yeah,
cool.
Thought it was... Yeah, that's cool.
One thing I do also actually want to mention about deadlines, and that's why I've got a slippery slope mentality in there, is because
So that was for hard deadlines, like uni, everything I just said.
Yep.
This falls apart when you have softer deadlines.
Softer deadlines are harder to keep, but equally, if not more important.
Yes.
I'd argue more important. Because soft deadlines are things like, I will do 1 paragraph today. The soft deadline is like a lot of the time self-imposed.
Yeah.
Like you're creating that for yourself. And the reason that that's really important is A, keeping up that momentum, so you don't start something right at the beginning and then, leave it for a couple of weeks like I did. And it also means, like, it's harder to discipline yourself with, because you're like, who am I answering to? Just myself. Like, I don't have a punishment if I don't do it.
Yeah, and it's definitely, so that's kind of what Mackenzie and I have been dealing with this week. Well, the hard deadline is like the end of the week, but the soft deadline was like Wednesday, and now it's Friday.
Oh.
And it's still not finished.
I'm finished.
Yeah, you're finished, but you finished late last night.
10:30.
It wasn't like I had to do something after that. It's not like I could,
There was still other stuff you could have been doing in the meantime. Don't you dare.
Yeah. Shh. Shh. Anyway, but yeah, with soft deadlines, it's a lot easier to be like, it's 5 o'clock. I just want to go home now and just go home.
Yeah.
Whereas,
exactly.
if the thing's due at 7 o'clock, you're gonna keep working.
Because
if you're gonna fail your uni course because you don't hand it in by 7 o'clock.
Exactly.
It's gonna be done by 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Exactly. Soft deadlines are really important though, and like the organisational process that you'll likely go under before even starting something. But also, and making sure that you are holding yourself accountable throughout the week or something like that. And I think with, just on that kind of note, I think even if you don't always stick to your soft deadlines, I think it's good to have them anyway. Because what you're doing is you have at least...
You have an idea of where you know you should be.
Exactly.
And you know if you're a little bit behind or you're a lot behind.
Exactly. Whereas if you haven't made anything like that full stop, you don't know, or you can't accurately sort of measure how much time you still need to spend, how many tasks you still need to complete, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, obviously it's most ideal to stick to soft deadlines, but regardless of whether or not you think you're going to be able to consistently make them, you should have soft deadlines anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. So setting soft deadlines is usually not too challenging to actually do, keeping up with them slowly. But if you say that essay, 6 steps, say you have 6 days, have the last day as a backup, and then just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's your soft deadlines right there.
Yeah.
You can usually, provided you know how long each task is going to take, I'd usually just set them up as an even, in even intervals between where you are now and when your hard deadline is at the end.
Yeah. With on top of actually no, I'm going to answer that in a question because we actually have questions about that, so I'm going to hold off on that. One thing I would like to mention about deadlines, and I'm not like Sarah, I have handed in things in late into uni, but it was only until my last trimester of uni, 2.5 years of study, hadn't handed in anything late. And then the last half trimester, so the last 1/8 of my uni experience. Is that good math?
6th.
Yeah, how'd I do that? Anyway, that last chunk of my uni experience.
You're at uni for 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I handed in, not everything late, but a few things late. But it kind of... There's a bit of a slippery slope mentality to it. The first time you do it is the hardest, and then after that it's
Yeah, it's
it doesn't feel as big a thing.
Bad, yeah.
And that's even more dangerous. You shouldn't think of your hard deadlines as soft deadlines.
And the issue with starting to be a bit loose with deadlines, especially with situations like uni where you have 10, 20 deadlines in a trimester that are important.
I would like to say the latest I ever handed something in was just 1 day. I only ever got the minimal penalty.
Yeah.
Not that it makes it
But there's a bit of a snowball effect, right? Because say you've got 10 deadlines at the end last few weeks of the trimester.
Yeah, and that's why everything else became late, because you push everything
You push one
back.
thing back, then the next thing falls back, and you start it's like a domino effect.
Yeah,
Whereas
100%.
if you can stick, the second you knock one over, that's 1 day you have less to work on the next assignment that's due.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's something you need to be really, really conscious of, especially somewhere where school or uni where the deadlines they just come one after another. That's just how it is.
And with that as well is having a clear understanding of when your assessments are due, and what assessments you still have for the year. So I mean, mostly this episode we're going to be talking about single assignments themselves, but it is really important to note that they don't come on their own. You have multiple subjects, you have multiple internals, you have multiple externals, and you have to balance them with each other. So it's not fully useful to keep all of your planning or all of your organisation limited to one standard, because that means one standard is going to be main, that's all good, that's so sorted, but the rest of them are not being worked around.
Yeah, the first thing I do beginning of every uni trimester is
big war plan.
I have my calendar on my phone and my laptop, but I have my calendar and it has all my other stuff in it, and I slot in the deadlines for every assignment. So straight away when I look next week, I can see, there's one assignment due on the Tuesday, there's one due on the Friday.
Yep.
And it's with my schedule, right? So I can also see, I'm actually quite busy on the Monday, so maybe I need to account for that.
Yep.
Being able to visualize where all your assignments are in relation to each other, and then also where they are in relation to other events in your life. Maybe if it's in your calendar, if you have everything in one place, you can see the assignment's due on Monday, but I'm away Saturday and Sunday, and I'm not going to work on it while I'm away.
Exactly.
So I need to account for factors like that.
Yeah, 100%. Something that I because I've always struggled with Mostly like motivation, because it's not always like, you know when your deadlines are, but sometimes it's just mustering up the courage to actually like get it started or get it done. And I think this is particularly useful for me because I'm a big fan of soft deadlines now. There's only something that I think I've gotten better with like recently. But the good thing about soft deadlines as well, and because you know where you should ideally be, I'm fueled by guilt and negative emotions, so that drives me to do things. No, I'm kidding, but like, sorry, excuse me. If you find that you are behind, then you have that playing in the back of your mind, like that you've got something to do that you've not been doing. And because of that, like, whenever I'm thinking like, oh, I just can't be bothered doing like X task, I always think, yeah, but imagine, like, think forward, think ahead, and how relieved or how less stressed you're going to feel once it's done.
Yeah.
That's genuinely what motivates me to do most things, is once it's done, you can relax. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Like, I would much rather spend my free time doing what I want and not feeling like I've got anything hanging over my head, rather than doing what I want but still having like this guilt demon in the back of my mind telling me all these things that I should be doing instead.
Another thing that can definitely help if you're struggling to start writing something like that, is there's this thing, this guy Thomas Frank, YouTuber, calls the low effort hack. So say you've got an internal to write, but you've been putting it off or whatever. Just say, I'm going to work on it for 25 minutes, set a clock, 25 minutes, and just have a go at writing it. But don't take a low effort approach to it, in the sense, say you're writing something, you don't know like the answer to something, just write like insert research on XYZ here, and then move on to the next topic, and just try to do as much as you can like that. Whenever there's something that you would go and like spend 10 minutes researching, just make a note of what needs to go there and keep going. And that's a really good way to build some momentum quite quickly. And at the end of the 25 minutes, if you're not feeling it, like leave it and come back in an hour. But like most of the time after that 25 minutes, because you got a lot of work done because you weren't fussing over the fine details, you can often it's often a good way to get going, and then you can go through, finish the rest, and go find those. But it's a really good way to get started if you're not feeling it.
And I often feel that it's like, it's a relief type thing. You're like, oh my god, I finally got something down. I finally, like, even if it's trash, like something is there, or I have a clearer idea of what I need to be spending with my time than I did 25 minutes ago. Even if you don't end up using any of what you've written, at least now you know what you don't know, or you know what you need to go and have a look at. Because quite often when we put off things, we put it off entirely. We don't want to engage with it. We don't want to think about it. So because of that, we don't even really think about, oh, what would I even theoretically put into it? We just wall that up. Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
Yeah. I definitely find the thing that probably motivates me the most is having that foresight to think, if I get everything done, then I can go away and do what I want tonight without feeling any guilt. I can, go away for the weekend and not feel like I have to be working while I'm away, or anything like that. Like, the time that you have allocated for yourself can be entirely just for yourself, and you don't have to worry about anything else. And I think that is really, really valuable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I will very much try to, if I'm working on an assignment or a project or something, I'll very much try to clearly allocate blocks of time to it. And then
you're a big fan of time blocking.
Yeah, but when you've worked on it, you've done 3 1-hour blocks during the day, and you've reached your word count goal, like, you can feel happy about that and not have to worry about it until the next day.
Exactly.
Like, you've finished it all by 3 p.m.
And it's one of those things as well, if you've got the ball rolling and like you're in that zone, but you've hit like whatever soft deadline you've given yourself to that day, it doesn't mean you have to stop there. Like, if you are really feeling it or something like that, just keep going, and what that does is it, means that you have to do less the next day, or if you do the same amount that day, you're going to end up getting things finished earlier, and you give yourself a little bit more wiggle room if things do come up that you weren't expecting, that are taking up the time that you usually would have allocated to do the work.
Yeah.
Because that always happens as well. You're never going to be prepared for
you should always have like a day in lieu to account for anything.
Yeah, like a bit of a buffer zone. 100%. 100%.
Was that a question? Did we say that was a question? Because
No.
I feel like we answered a question.
Yeah, we did actually answer a question. One of the questions was finding the motivation to start and keep going. With the 25-minute thing that you also mentioned, another thing that you can try and do is even just like 5 minutes, just a 5-minute rough sketch plan of what needs to go into something, what you'd ideally like to go into something, even maybe just like writing down all your ideas that you've had towards a topic. You know, it might not be fully organized, but hey, you've got some ideas down. And that can be a really good way as well, because I think quite often that stress like builds up and builds up and builds up, and it just becomes this like increasingly dreadful task to take on. And I think that the sooner you can begin chipping away at it, you don't have to finish it in its entirety in one session, but I think just doing that little bit just to just so you've got something that your mind can frame itself around.
Yeah.
I think that honestly is so useful, and I think that a lot of students really don't fully engage with planning, or particularly in regards to a certain topic. Like, you know, for an essay, for example, somebody will just be like, oh, I'll just write an essay, you
don't have to invest. The other thing, you don't want to overplan either.
No.
But 5 minutes is 15 minutes is a very good approach.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I think I know 100% for a fact. I never once ever planned an essay or a standard ever in my whole high school experience.
Yeah.
And like, I just winged it from beginning to end, and it makes for a lot more editing later. It makes for like, yeah, you've missed the first step, but it means that your last step is going to be so much larger, and you will ultimately spend more time on something because you're fixing it up all the way through. And like we're saying, the plan isn't going to be perfect, but it's still better than nothing. Yeah,
the first thing I usually do when I'm studying an essay or a report, something like that, is I'll open up like a Pages document. Pages is better than Word. There's a very controversial. But anyway, I'll open up like a word processor, and I'll go and I'll turn on bold, and I'll make all the headings that I want. I won't usually use the headings in the actual piece, but for me, I'll go introduction, this point 1 X, point 2 Y, point 3 Z. And then if there's 2 or 3 subpoints for each point, I'd put those in there as well, and then conclusion. And then straight away, I already know what I have to write. So when I come, I look at my soft deadline. Okay, today I want to write 1 paragraph. Go to paragraph 1. Oh, here's the 3 points I need to discuss in paragraph 1. Ready to go. We can hit the ground running.
Exactly, exactly. And it's sort of, I think a lot of the times as well for students, it's like you finally do sit down at your desk or whatever to start a topic, but you're just like, I just don't even know what to do. And because you haven't started with planning, I think it feels even more daunting again, because you just don't even think you know where to start. And so students kind of sit there just spending time doing essentially nothing. And they're like, oh, well, even I tried to spend time on it and I just didn't. And it's like, yeah, but how were you using that time? Were you trying to write a whole essay off the top of your head without doing any organisation beforehand? Yeah, obviously that's going to be hard.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah, 100%. A few people asked a few of these questions, so I haven't put names in just because there were quite a lot of double up kind of questions. But coordinating multiple deadlines and assessments at a time. I think this is more of a overall organizational thing. This is knowing when your assessments are. This is having communication with your teachers. This is, again, setting soft deadlines for yourself. But bearing in mind, if you have multiple assessments on at a time, that you're spending time outside of school on. That's the important thing, because a lot of assessments you can do completely in school without having done any work outside of class. So those ones, you kind of don't have to factor in too hard, for the simple fact that if you're using your class time well, theoretically you shouldn't have to be juggling that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
definitely. It's definitely. Yeah, so and also just using the time you are in school well, if your teacher gives you time in class to write the assignment, actually use it instead of talking and whatever, and that frees up a lot of time. But then in terms of the time after school, it comes back to that planning, being able to see when all your assessments are. And sure, you know, sometimes you do have to work on 2 or 3 assessments at a time. Usually you shouldn't have to work on more than that if you plan properly.
I don't ever remember in my whole high school experience ever working on more than one internal at a time outside of class. Ever.
Yeah, and actually now that I think of it, I can't remember like working on more than 1 or 2 in high school at a time. No. Just really seeing.
But I think that's also, we look at that as not a huge task, but like we've been at uni where all of it is like
you get very used to managing.
So I think
it's all self-management.
Yeah,
and you get used to like juggling 3 or 4.
Because
like 3 is not unusual for me to be writing at once.
Yeah, so when we say that, you know, if that is something that really stresses you out, like we're not belittling your experience, but like we've been through hell.
Yeah, but like I think it's really just about being able to visualize when the due dates are, and then clearly like saying, okay, so I need to work on these 2 assignments today. And just like really simply, this time I'm going to work on this one. This time I'm going to work on this one. That's it. Like just, and not trying to like, and once you clearly define that time, spending that 1 hour on that one, and then when the next hour comes around later in the day, spending that time on the next one.
It can be really difficult to just
like
compartmentalize it like that. Like it can be really difficult to think, this is the time that I've allocated to think about this thing, because like obviously that's not really how our brain works. Like I woke up yesterday and the first thing that went into my head was Jolene by Dolly Parton, and I couldn't get it out of my head for the rest of the day, and I just didn't know why my brain did that to me, but that's fine. Oh, now it's stuck my head.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you not know that song?
Nah. Not by name.
Jolly, 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 Jolly.
Oh, okay.
It's a good song.
Yeah.
It's a good song.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I do know that.
It's an alright song. Anyway,
yeah,
look. Anyway, but like, you know, my point there is like, we all know that our brains don't like always work with us in the way that we want it to. And it can get easier the more you do it. But definitely just thinking, this is the time that I've allocated to think about this, to work on this. You know, and outside of that, like, you just have to like tell your brain to shut up, even if it's just like, hey, but like, you remember this other thing that you got to do, and you just have to be like,
man.
Yeah, like
just talk to your brain. Just talk to yourself.
Yeah, it's really, really difficult. It definitely is. But if you tell yourself and you physically do that planning, you compartmentalize it like that, you say, you know, I'm going to spend an hour working on this thing, and I'm going to spend the next hour working on this thing, then regardless of that little voice in the back of your head, you are getting things done, and you've made a plan and you're getting it done. So it's kind of like just shutting that voice out sometimes.
Do you guys like Subway toasties?
I'm thinking
I
about
haven't eaten today.
Neither
it just
have I.
popped into my mind. Yeah.
Subway, Siren. His name's Siren, not Subway. Siren rates a Subway toasty. I was about to say Subway rates a Siren toasty.
Cheesy garlic's the best one.
Oh, it's
you shouldn't get any
that
of
seems
those.
so heavy for like early morning though. Like cheese in the morning just sounds really weird to me.
That's so good.
And when I say early morning, I mean like to like 10:30 kind
it's
of.
literally going to be 11 o'clock by the time I have it.
Oh, okay.
To be fair, I have had them at 8:30 before. It's very good. It's very good.
What a heavy way to say. Oh, I saw a kid get on the bus today smashing a tub of Ben and Jerry's ice cream on this way to school.
Okay, I can't say I've ever done. I've eaten a lot of bad food in the morning. Can't say I've ever done ice cream.
On the bus this morning, I mean 8:30 a.m. this morning, and I just saw him. I was like, oh, that's not okay.
I've eaten back in my youthful days, because I'm an old man now, as we all know. It was not unusual for us to have like fries or like a pie before 9 a.m.
That's filthy. I've never been in that habit, I've never ever.
It's not about the habit, it's about the positioning of fast food in relation to your school.
My parents raised me better. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I think you are right, like 100%. No, it's got to do with availability.
Availability and social acceptability. When it's available, the social acceptability increases.
I think it's also got to do with the fact that like one of the things as well is like when I was at year 11, I couldn't afford that kind of carry-on. Get out of here. I get a juicy sometimes if I'm lucky. Like, what the hell?
I don't know, maybe I wasn't maybe we're talking year 12. Oh, no, probably year
11. Year 12 I could afford things, not year 11.
Yeah. They used to have, the only people who have been in Wellington for a while will know this, but you used to be able to pay for food with Snapper.
Really?
Yeah, that was like a thing.
Weird.
Not everywhere, like certain places.
Oh.
Yeah. So you can
What a
just use
good way to use the bus money.
just use the parents' money. Yeah, it's great. Great way to live life.
Oh no, that's not good. Anyway, we're going to
People who've been in Wellington for like a while know what I'm talking about. It's not a thing anymore. You can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I know that.
It's great back in the day. Yeah. Okay.
So deadlines.
Food deadlines.
We got a question about when your teacher keeps changing your deadlines. I would say in regards to this, though, this would be your teacher pushing the deadlines back.
Yeah.
Teachers never put deadlines earlier.
Yeah.
Do your best to make that first deadline. Like, make your plan around that first deadline. And if you get it done in that time, then hey, free time for the rest of when everyone else is struggling.
Yeah.
Like, when teachers keep changing deadlines, give yourself one and stick to it. And again, we know it's hard, but this kind of deadline you're treating as a hard deadline.
Yeah,
This isn't a soft deadline, it's something you want to have done in your task. Like, if your teacher keeps pushing an assignment back, but you, in all honesty, know that you can have it done before that, just go into yourself for a little bit and just talk to yourself and just think, hey, I'm capable of meeting that deadline. I can do that. That's totally my own ability. And whether or not I make that deadline and my teacher has to push the whole classes back, this is why it happens, then that's my fault. You have to take accountability for that, I think. Because of that, I think, you really need to give yourself a deadline and stick to that deadline and treat that as the deadline.
I agree.
Yeah. People assuming that they'll have motivation later when they've
that's a terrible idea.
When you say, oh, I'm planning on working on this tonight, and you're like, I'll probably have motivation later.
Motivation is really overrated.
Yeah.
Discipline. 95% of stuff in the world is just done by people who just put their socks on and get it done.
Yeah.
There's no motivation involved. It's something that comes up in the thing that comes up in creative industries is inspiration. You have to be inspired to do creative work. Creativity. But 95% of the work is done by people who get into the office at 9 a.m. in the morning and just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no magic involved. You just have to sit down for 25 minutes and work for 25 minutes. That's the secret.
The issue with that is that people treat the creative industries like it's this weird mystical creativity and motivation and no, it's hard work that people are putting in.
It's hard work, planning and doing everything else in life.
Famous artists or self-made people, particularly people on creatives YouTubers and that kind of stuff in general, though they aren't the people who rode one viral wave. No, they're the people who've been consistently working hard over a long period of time and have built up a reliable base of followers or fans who are essentially giving them the audience that allows them to live. Yeah. People don't make a living off one-offs.
Yeah. PewDiePie, biggest YouTuber. The man posted 2 videos a day for years. Do you know how long it takes to do 2 videos a day? It takes the entire day. Every day, for years. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how life works.
And he still produces a hell of a lot of videos, so regularly and so quickly. And somebody else,
Casey Neistat's like that as well. He did a vlog for 600 days, non-stop.
Take someone else like Jenna Marbles. Yeah, she has consistently released a video every week since she's been around, which was the dawn of YouTube. But the only time she's ever missed a couple weeks has been over Christmas, New Year's for the past 2 years only. And she didn't used to before that. And this is the only time she's ever given herself an extended break from YouTube. And obviously 1 video a week is a lot less than that. But the point is that you've got consistency and you've got people who, in the face of discipline and consistency and, the motivation to do it is not always going to be there. Yeah. It's the people who...
I don't want to come here at 9:20 this morning. Actually, at 9. I said 9 originally, but that's another story.
He told me 9 o'clock because he knew I was going to be late, but joke's on him, I was early.
But you just have to set the alarm, you just have to get up and there's no secret to getting motivated.
Assuming you'll have more motivation later on, like
Terrible
engage
idea.
with that thought and be like, no, I'm lying to myself.
Yeah.
What I'm doing right now is lying to future me.
It's not a like good strategy to wait for motivation. Like it's an objectively bad strategy.
Oh yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like nobody is just hit with creativity or hit with motivation or something like that. The thing is with this kind of thing as well is when people say, oh, I had a flash of creativity. What happened is they went out and they did something and something from that inspired them.
Yeah.
They weren't sitting on the couch watching Netflix and suddenly a big revelation came to them.
Yeah.
Like I think quite often people think that it does just like, you're in the middle of the street and it's like, that's so Raven with a vision. And she's just like it doesn't happen like that, you know? Like it's just not, you know?
Yeah, it's not a thing.
It's not a thing.
Yeah. And like
The only advice we can give you is like,
And even-
don't let past you light a future you.
yeah, just get it done.
Yeah.
Like that's what professionals do.
Yeah,
Like that's how
Exactly.
I live life.
exactly.
Yeah, like the guy who built your house, like you just showed up for like 150, I don't know how long it takes to build a house, 150 days, and they
Yeah.
just like did it. Like
Yeah,
you just like show up and you just do the work. Like
Yeah.
that's how it is. That's how everything in life is.
exactly. You know, you don't. School is so much of a bubble where there is like this idea that I can do it later. It's fine. Like there is no other part of your like you wouldn't do that with your part-time job.
No,
Like
exactly.
you wouldn't like have to be at work at 9 o'clock and be like,
Unless you be.
yeah, unless you're this man. No, that's fine. I mean, do we actually have real jobs?
No, we just have fake jobs.
What are fake jobs?
Yeah. Get paid using money from unknown sources.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin,
We get Bitcoin.
yeah, that would have been real good like last year, but now it wouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that would have been real good last year.
How'd that go for you?
Yeah, and I have to remember to censor myself. That's great. 37 minutes.
Anyway, okay, so another issue that people find is getting distracted with like social media or like laziness or something like that. And one of the biggest things that I can recommend with this is if you've allocated time to work on something, put your phone away, like in a different room.
Yeah.
Like different room, don't even have it in your eyesight. Don't even have it like physically around you. If you're working from a laptop and you don't need internet, turn it off.
Turn it off, yeah.
Because you find yourself just tending towards that kind of thing. If you're really, really bad for it, like load up all of your research pages or anything like that you need and then turn off your Wi-Fi and then do your work.
Yeah. There's also some some Chrome extensions and stuff you can use to like block like all websites that aren't like, to block like social media and like stuff like that. Yeah. But you also have to like the thing you automate, like they're good tools to like remind you like when you automatically go off task and remind you, you need to go back on task. But like you also have to be disciplined with yourself not to just, turn it off and like turn the internet back on and, have a play.
Yeah, that's the thing, is...
Like it ultimately comes down to you.
Yeah,
like,
it does. It
your
really,
willingness
really does.
to get it done.
Yeah, and that kind of links into kind of what we're all saying before. Next question we had was judging how much time/work a task will actually entail, so that you have a good idea of what it'll be like for your planning. And this is what I wanted to mention before in terms of time planning, and it's this really fun thing called the optimism bias. And essentially what this is we think that we're way more efficient than what we actually are.
Yep, I've experienced that this week.
Oh no, same. I thought I was going to be done by 7 last night.
Every day this week I've thought I could get like 3 to 4 videos. Every day this week I've thought I could edit 4 videos. I've only ever done 1 to 3.
Yeah.
I don't think it has been a day I've done.
Or like with the optimism bias, essentially what it is you think that you can get stuff done way quicker as though you're working at 100% all the time. Essentially, it's not that you aren't physically able, but it's like that would be if you were like in the zone, working real hard, like no distractions or anything like that.
It's unrealistic to
And
expect
just
that for more than like a few minutes at a time.
Exactly. Like, you're going to have days where you're going to work slower than others. That's just what it is.
You're going to get a phone call when you don't want it. You're going to have so-and-so come distract you. Like, that's just how life works.
Exactly. And you need to account for that. And so when you're planning your time, you really have to consider, okay, if I was just like sitting down from beginning to end and working on this, how long would this take me? And that's usually where people stop. And that's where the optimism bias really kind of comes in. And then, so what you should also be considering is, how long is it going to take me to get myself set up? How long is it going to take me to get all my research out? How long is it going to take me considering my sibling is going to come into the room and like irritate me for a while? Like, how long is it going to take when, my parents come home and they want like a good 15-minute korero just to see how the day was going? Like, you have to take into account all the weird things that will also come along with it, because your study doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my biggest piece of advice in doing that kind of thing, is really thinking like, how much time could it take me? And then add maybe like another half of that time. Like, so say you think, it'll take me an hour to do this thing. Give yourself an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even longer maybe sometimes. But like having that wiggle room there is really good. And what it also does is it saves you from disappointment later on when you ultimately don't achieve this unrealistic goal you've set yourself.
It does indeed.
Yeah. Have you been disappointed all week?
No. Oh, yes. That's part one. But I'm also thinking about food.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're almost done. Okay. We'll get there.
I briefly contemplated having like someone from the office like deliver me food, but then I thought that it's me to ask someone to be distracted.
Fair.
But it could be done.
I mean, yeah. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. So, finding the time around other commitments, and also when dealing with mental health. So I want to know what you think.
I think it comes back to that thing of like accounting for other factors, right? Like if you, okay, we'll answer this in two parts.
Yeah, it is 2 parts.
So with the time commitments thing, I think it's just about clearly dividing your time up, like knowing when the deadlines are, knowing what days you're busier than others, and being like, what? And being like, being like, football practice at 4 o'clock, but I'm free at 3, so 3 till 3:45 I'm going to work on it, having that block clear and just getting it done. And
actually, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for like a hot second.
And planning around that,
building around those commitments, also with like, in planning your time, quite often people like think, my training finishes at 4, so from 4 o'clock onwards, I can work on this thing. It's like, no, you have to travel home, you have to set up the thing, all that. Take that kind of stuff into account. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
So that's part one. And then, so the other part, like dealing with mental health issues, I think it comes back to that like whole plan, accounting for the fact that you might have like a day where like it's just not going to happen. And planning out for that in advance. And then also like when that becomes like a more serious issue, like speaking to your teachers, speaking to your parents, whatever, and making sure that making sure that they're aware of that, and you can account for that a little bit.
And that's just and obviously with mental health it is really, really hard, and I think quite often with people as well can be cumulative, and you don't know how bad it is until you're kind of at a bit of a breaking point. I guess the best thing that we can really recommend with that is just making sure that you are constantly checking in with yourself and saying, well, like, how am I feeling today? And am I feeling capable, or am I feeling like I'm up to being able to do work? And what this might entail is, allocating yourself more time. Like, so instead of having 1 buffer day, you might give yourself 2 or 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's just...
And that removes some of the stress from the whole situation as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's working around it the best way that you can. And again, like if you are having really like a lot of trouble with that kind of thing, it is communicating that with your teachers and maybe just requesting, hey, can I just have an extra day?
Yeah.
Even if it's like, can I just have an extra day and I'll be working on it at home, so it won't even interfere with the school life. And most of the time teachers are really accommodating of that, and it's especially if you are if you're asking for that kind of thing, even in general, regardless of like your reason for it, the earlier you ask, the better.
Yeah.
So as soon as you realise, or as soon as you feel that that is something that you are going to need, communicate that as soon as you can.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
We talked about creating self-deadlines, or soft deadlines, self-deadlines. and understanding the task fully. And so this is kind of the flip side to organising time, is organising the task itself and knowing how to break down that task and what will make up this entire like standard or essay or report or whatever it may be.
I think like taking the time to do that like early on and like doing that in advance, even if you just do the planning in advance and you don't work on it for another 5 days, like being able to look through, do I understand everything? Ask yourself that in advance. So if you don't, you can go ask someone about it, or either you can look into it yourself, or you can ask your teacher or one of your friends, something like that. And
the thing is as well, make sure to check out your standards. I know a lot of the time they can be really difficult to understand. Ignore like 90% of it. Just go for
keywords.
For standards, the biggest thing that I recommend is to ignore everything but the bullet points.
Yeah.
Bullet points tell you what is actually going to be in it, and they're not going to use words like comprehensively. Like it's,
I love comprehensively.
Yeah, like so. For example, I was looking at one with a student the other day, and it was just like, considers. Oh, it was to do with biosocioscientific issue. Oh, it was chemistry, actually, I lie. It was like, what is the chemical processes? So obviously, in that you have to research all the entire process from beginning to end, what all that all entails. The next part might be the side effects of this, like how has this made an impact on the real world? And so that that's maybe what your next paragraph should be on, or maybe even 2 paragraphs if you think they're 2 big ideas. And then the next thing might be like, what's been going on in the world to try to combat this issue? Yeah. And that's going to be like the next part. And these bullet points in standards are probably the part of the standards that make the most sense anyway. So usually you don't have to be like an English like postgrad student to understand what's going on. Shout out NCA. It's just go to the bullet points for any standard. Like that is my advice for any standard. Yeah. This is from my science teacher from high school. He was always like, ignore everything else because it's like just garbage anyway. Just go straight to the bullet points because that tells you exactly what's in the standard and exactly what's going to be. I
totally agree with that. Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, I feel pretty content with life now.
You're just feeling empty.
Yeah. It's all the same at the end of the day.
I was alluding to you being hungry, but
I am hungry. I'm very hungry.
So we're going to wrap up for today. So thank you guys for watching. If you see any bits of the video that you think are really cool, or like snippet bits, be sure to let us know so we can
put the timestamp in the comments.
Give us timestamps. If you have any ideas for what you'd like for us to discuss on another episode of the Wholesome Half Hour, please let us know. Thank you for everyone who asked a question.
Thank you for asking questions. Yeah. Thanks so much for watching.
Yeah.
Have a marvellous rest of your week, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.